I built a road on my own land. The HOA tried to charge me $300 for using it. By the time everything was finished, they were the ones who lost control of their only way in and out. My name is Arlen Monroe. I am 40 years old, a civil engineer and the third generation living on this ranch at the edge of a small mountain town. 200 acres of pasture timber and rock. Our front fence runs along the county highway. Our back fence touches a neat little subdivision called Pine Ridge Estates. When my grandfather bought this place, there was only a rough dirt track from the highway to the house. We graded it with a tractor every spring and prayed the storms would be kind. Years later, a developer bought 40 acres off our corner and built 20 matching houses and, of course, an HOA. To reach those houses, they needed an access point to the highway. The cheapest route clipped a triangle of our land. My father agreed to grant an easement over that small strip. The document said their paved road could cross the triangle, but our family would still own the soil underneath and keep every right not given away. For a while, it worked fine. Pine Ridge used their new asphalt lane and stone entrance sign. We kept using the old ranch track that wound up to the barns. They mowed their shoulders. I mowed mine. Nobody argued. Then winters turned worse. The ranch track became a river of mud in spring and a frozen trench in winter. I got tired of spinning tires and sliding toward the ditch. Road design is my job. So one year I decided to treat my own driveway like a real project. I walked the fence line, found every metal corner pin, laid out a new alignment from the highway to my gate that stayed well inside my parcel, far away from the easement that served Pine Ridge. I hired a local crew. We scraped topsoil, laid proper road base, compacted it until the gravel locked together like concrete. No paint or curbs, just a solid, safe driveway on my own land. A week after it was finished, a white envelope from Pine Ridge Estates, HOA, showed up in my mailbox. The letter started with bold words, "Notice of violation." Under that, it said, "Unauthorized road construction at community entrance. Unapproved alteration of shared access approach. Fine $300 due in 30 days. At the bottom was a neat signature. Karen Sloan, President, Pine Ridge HOA. I looked from the paper to my new driveway. From the highway, you could see their asphalt road, their stone sign, my fence, my gate, and then my gravel lane climbing toward the house. Their easement ended at the fence line. Everything beyond belonged to me. I walked down, brushed dirt off the corner stake until the parcel number showed, took photos of the pin, the fence, the gap between their pavement and my road. Then I went back inside and opened my laptop. I wrote a calm email to the association address on the letter. I told them my name and parcel number, explained that my driveway sat entirely within my land behind my fence, attached copies of my deed, the recorded easement, and the county map, pointed out that their covenants did not list my parcel as a member lot. I asked them to correct their records and withdraw the fine. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a reply from Karen. She thanked me for reaching out and then explained that the board had received complaints about my industrial-looking driveway at their main entrance. She wrote that first impressions mattered, that the HOA had authority to protect the appearance and character of the community, and that since my driveway connected visually to their approach, it fell under their standards. The fine, she said, still stood at $300 and could increase if I did not pay. That was the moment I realized this was not a simple mistake. She did not care where the lines on the map were. In her head, anything near Pine Ridge belonged under Pine Ridge. I sent one more email. I repeated that my land was not part of the HOA, that my driveway did not touch their easement, and that if she honestly believed otherwise, she should have her lawyer contact me directly. Then I went back to work and kept driving on my own road. A week later, another envelope arrived marked delinquent in red ink. The new letter said delinquent in big red letters across the top. Original fine $300. Administrative fee $50. Total now $350. At the bottom, one more line. Non-payment may result in suspension of community privileges. I looked out at my pastures and laughed. We had never used their pool or their tiny park or their clubhouse. There was nothing they could suspend. A couple of days later, I saw Karen's white SUV at my gate again. This time, she had 2 board members with her, all holding clipboards. She pointed at the gravel like she was writing a ticket. "You were warned, Arlen," she said. "You cannot alter the shared entrance without approval. The board has voted to apply monthly fines until you bring this driveway up to our standards." I walked over to the fence and touched the steel post where my corner pin sat beneath the soil. "This is my boundary," I said. "Your easement ends out there at the edge of your pavement. Inside this fence you have no authority." She sniffed. "You and your maps?" "Buyers and visitors do not care about invisible lines. They see one entrance and they see your ugly ranch road dragging us down. If you keep using it, we will have no choice but to contact the county and shut it down for safety." Then she and her little entourage marched back to the SUV and drove off. 3 days later, a county patrol car rolled up while I was loading tools. The officer stepped out and introduced himself. "We received a complaint from Pine Ridge," he said. "They allege you have built an unsafe access onto the highway and are affecting traffic." I handed him the same folder I had used for my father years ago. Deed, survey, easement. We walked to the fence line together. He looked from their asphalt to my gravel, from the pin to the culvert to my gate. "From what I see," he said slowly, "their subdivision road is in the easement strip. Your driveway is not. You are not blocking their lane. You are not tied into their pavement. There is nothing here I can cite." He lowered his voice. Off the record, he added, "They call a lot about things that are not really our job." When he left, I stood there by the post and thought about what he had said. If the law cared more about paper than about Karen's feelings, then maybe it was time I went to the office that kept all the paper. Next morning, I drove to the county road and bridge office, a small building that smells like coffee and dust and old blueprints. A clerk at the counter asked what I needed. "Highway access records for my parcel," I said. He typed for a while, then went to a back file room and came out with a folder yellow at the edges. "This is an old one," he said. "Issued to a Monroe ranch decades ago. Single private approach at mile marker listed here." He showed me the paper. My father's name on it, description of a driveway location that matched the spot where both my new road and the subdivision entrance now sat. "Is there a separate permit for Pine Ridge Estates?" I asked. He checked the computer again and shook his head. "No, sir. Looks like the only official approach at that point is yours. When the subdivision went in, they must have just tied into your permit." I felt something click into place. On paper, the state thought this whole entrance was my driveway. If I wanted to improve or move the access, what would I have to do, I asked. "Fill out this form, send a sketch, and explain how it will help safety. We send it to the state DOT for approval," he said. "They like reducing conflict points. One shared entrance is better than two close together." I thanked him and went straight to a local attorney named Miller who handles land issues. His office walls were covered with framed plat maps. I laid the deed and easement and permit on his desk and told him the story. He listened without interrupting, then steepled his fingers. "Right now," he said, "Pine Ridge is using your state-approved entrance as if it belongs to them. If you get a revised permit that clarifies you as the access owner, they cannot pretend anymore." He tapped the pad. "Here is what I suggest. Apply to realign and formalize the approach as a single ranch driveway, that their road connects to inside your land. At the same time, we draft a road use agreement. It will say the ranch owns the approach. Pine Ridge can use it by permission only, and in return they help pay for maintenance and stop interfering with anything you build on your parcel." That evening, I drew a simple sketch. One clean driveway throat from the highway onto my land. My gravel and their asphalt meeting just beyond the fence. Fewer turning points, better angles, clear sight lines. On the application form, I wrote the reason in engineer language. Consolidate two closely spaced approaches into one safer access for both ranch and subdivision. Then I sent it in and waited. State approval came faster than I expected. 2 weeks later, the county clerk called and said the revised access permit had arrived. I drove back to the office and read it right there at the counter. Existing driveway approaches at this location shall be consolidated into a single private access, owned and maintained by Monroe Ranch. Subdivision traffic from Pine Ridge. Estates shall reach the highway via cross-access over Monroe Ranch. Driveway under agreement between parties. The words were dry and simple, but the meaning was loud. On state paper, the front door now clearly belonged to my land. I took the letter straight to Miller's office. He grinned when he saw it. "This is exactly what we wanted," he said. "Now we put meat on the bones." He typed up a road use and maintenance agreement. Clause 1. The driveway connection to the highway is owned and controlled by Arlen Monroe. Clause 2. Pine Ridge HOA and its members may use this approach only by permission. In exchange, they pay a share of plowing repairs and gravel, and they agree not to alter, obstruct, or regulate any improvements on the Monroe parcel. Clause 3. If the HOA ever interferes with Arlen's use of his land or claims authority over his driveway, he may revoke their permission to use the approach subject to notice and emergency vehicle exceptions. We read it line by line. It was not a trap. It was simply the truth put into words. We mailed one signed copy to the HOA by certified mail along with the state permit letter. Then we waited. Karen's reply came in an email blast to the whole subdivision before it came to me. "Your neighbor at the ranch is attempting to seize control of our entrance," she wrote. "He wants us to sign away our rights and pay him tribute just to reach our own homes. The board will not accept this blackmail." She copied my name and made it sound like I had asked to own the air they breathed. To me, she sent a short message. "We reject your so-called agreement. Pine Ridge will not be held hostage by a driveway. Expect our attorney to respond." I showed it to Miller. So he said, "They want to pretend nothing changed. Then we will have to show them what change." We posted the first notice one cool morning. Clean white board on a post at the edge of my driveway where their road touched my fence. In big clear letters it said, "Highway access at this point is owned and permitted to Monroe Ranch. Subdivision traffic uses this approach by permission, only under state permit. Emergency vehicles, mail, and school buses are always allowed. Copies of the state letter and our proposed agreement went to the sheriff, the fire chief, and the county road office. No one could say they had not been warned. The neighbors saw it before the board did. Cars slowed at the entrance. Heads turned. Drivers read the words and kept going with tight faces. By evening, the Pine Ridge social media page was on fire. Screenshots found their way to my phone from people who were tired of being dragged into drama. Some accused me of power games. Some asked why no one had told them the entrance was not really theirs. A few finally questioned the board. Did our developer lie? Did our realtor leave stuff out? Did the HOA president know this the whole time? Karen replied with long, angry posts about my bullying. She said I was waiving technical papers to scare families. She insisted their long use of the road gave them permanent rights. Next week, they called an emergency HOA meeting at the model home. This time, several neighbors insisted I be invited. I showed up in jeans and boots with a folder under my arm. Miller came too in his plain gray suit. The room was full and buzzing. Karen stood beside a folding table covered in printouts. She tried to open with a speech. "This man is trying to control our entire subdivision," she began. Before she could build momentum, the county road supervisor cleared his throat. "Let's get facts straight first," he said. "The state recognizes one access permit here. It belongs to Monroe Ranch. Your road connects to that, not the other way around." The fire chief stood next. "We do not care about HOA politics," he said. "We care about driveways we can get trucks through. If that approach closes for any reason, every house up there is a dead end. So yes, we care who legally controls the gate." You could feel the air shift in the room. This was no longer just about gravel and looks. Miller laid copies of the agreement on the table and spoke in a calm, flat tone. "This does not take anything from you," he said. "It just admits what the records already say. The ranch owns the approach. You may use it so long as you help maintain it and do not try to manage his land." Ruth, the older neighbor who had come to my fence earlier, picked up a copy. "So if we sign this," she said, "school buses still come. Fire still comes. We just stop arguing about his driveway." "Yes," Miller answered. A man in a worn work jacket raised his hand. "I do not care whose name is on the sign," he said. "I care that my kids can get to school and an ambulance can reach us. I am fine paying a share of plowing. I am not fine letting my exit depend on a fight between two stubborn people." A ripple of agreement moved through the chairs. Karen snapped back that I would start charging tolls. That giving in would set a horrible example. That they should stand strong as a community. The county man shook his head. Ma'am, he said, right now your community is using his driveway on a permission. You did not know you needed. He is the one offering to put that permission on paper. You are the one risking their access by refusing. For once, several people told her no to her face. Maybe we need a new board member. One woman said, someone who reads deeds before picking battles. A motion for a recall vote went up right there. Hands rose all over the room. Recall ballots went out that same week. Not from the board, from the neighbors themselves. They printed simple forms and walked door to door. People talked on sidewalks and driveways late into the evening. I stayed on my side of the fence, grading my driveway, hauling rock, letting them decide what kind of leadership they wanted. When the votes were counted, Karen was removed as president by a wide margin. Ruth was elected to the board, and the dad in the work jacket took a seat next to her. Their first official act was not a newsletter. It was a phone call to Miller. The second was a call to me. We would like to meet properly, Ruth said. No speeches, just paper. A few days later, they sat at my kitchen table. Ruth, the work jacket dad, and one more quiet neighbor from the finance committee. Miller had spread the agreement between us like a map. We read it again together line by line. Ruth tapped the first clause. We cannot pretend this driveway belongs to us, she said. The county and the state say otherwise. Our choice is admit it and make peace, or deny it and roll the dice with fire trucks and school buses. She slid the signature page toward me. If we sign this, she said, you reopen the door. You keep doing what you have always done. And we stop acting like the HOA owns your front yard. I signed as ranch owner. She signed as Pine Ridge Board president. The others signed as witnesses. That afternoon, we walked the papers into the county recorder office, paid the small fee, and watched the clerk press a fresh stamp onto the corner. From that moment forward, anyone searching the records would see it. Monroe Ranch as access owner. Pine Ridge as user by permission. Once the ink was dry, the temperature on the hill dropped fast. Not the air temperature. The tension. The next snowstorm gave everyone a chance to see the new reality in motion. My plow contractor came at dawn, pushed one clean pass from the highway up my driveway and along the curve, where their asphalt met my gravel. No ridge dumped across my gate. No argument where their responsibility began. Later that week, Pine Ridge cut their usual check to the contractor for their share, just like the agreement said, for the first time ever. The bill for clearing the entrance did not land squarely on my pile alone. County road crews updated their internal maps. The fire chief updated his response plans. Now their charts showed a single primary driveway at the highway, owned by the ranch, with a note that subdivision access was by agreement. Karen kept her house by the sign, but her power was gone. She stopped sending letters, stopped parking at my fence to glare at the gravel, stopped telling new buyers that the ranch was a problem. They hoped would eventually move away. Every now and then, a new family would show up at my gate, looking a little nervous. We heard a story about this driveway, they would say. Something about you owning the entrance. I would invite them to the porch, pour café, and show them the simple stack of papers. The deed, the easement, the state permit, the agreement. This is just how the land was sliced, I told them. You bought into a place that leans on this ranch. I am fine with that as long as everyone remembers where the lines are. Most of them nodded in relief, happy to know there was order under the rumors. Months passed. Life slid back into a normal rhythm. Calves were born. Hay was cut. Kids in Pine Ridge. Road bikes passed the entrance without staring at my truck every time it moved. Occasionally, I